Okay, so you just took predictive index, and now you're probably looking at some document that looks something like this. You've got this symbol, a venturer, some strengths, some weaknesses, cautionaries, a behavioral pattern. Now you have this like squiggly line with 4 dots and things that it's telling you that you need, and some factor combos, and you're like, what in the world is this? Okay, let me do a quick dive on what you're looking at, what predictive index is, what it's doing, what it's measuring, and how you can use this. First, let's look at these 17 different reference profiles. You can see here that they all kind of have these different patterns, is what they call them, with this little diamond as a midpoint, and then these 4 dots that are just kind of all over the place. What this is doing is this is measuring these 4 drivers, is what they call them. Four primary drivers, and these drivers are what creates needs, and needs then create behaviors. And so the idea is that if we can predict the drivers that people have, then we can, or if we can measure the drivers that they have, then we can predict future behaviors. And so these 4 drivers kind of look like this. You have that mid point, that triangle with some lines that go stronger, it's getting bigger, or weaker, it's getting smaller. So you can see here that we have an A drive, a B drive, a C drive, and a D drive. Those are those 4 dots that we see in this pattern. And then we can see here that a high A, these are the high A patterns. High A and high B are these patterns. We have a high B and high C are these patterns. High C and high D, and then high D. And so you can also see that there's a couple different shapes here. We have a cog, hexagon, triangle, some circles. These represent different types of profiles. So the analytical profiles are all profiles that have this kind of cog or gear, and they're characterized by an A drive that is stronger than B. We'll get into these drives and what they mean a little bit, but just to give you how you got this reference profile. All of these analytical profiles have an A drive that's stronger than B and a low C drive. I'm a venturer, right? So A is stronger, it's to the right, than B, and C is low. Same with these. All of these are like that. You have social profiles. The only thing that they have in common is that they are high B. So you have captains and mavericks. They have this hexagon shape here. You have stabilizing profiles. These have a triangle. They're low A and B with a high C and D. And then persistent profiles is this kind of circle. And so you might see your pattern and see that it's close to something else. Don't think of these patterns as continents or countries. Think of them more like neighborhoods, super close together. And so you could have an adapter that lives in the adapter neighborhood, but their profile is very close to an individualist, or me, I'm a venturer. My profile is very close to a captain and very close to some mavericks. Just depending on a little bit of variation, it would lean one way or the other in those different profiles. So now let's remember these drivers, and we'll go and look at what this is. So these drivers. These 4 drivers are A, the drive to exert one's influence or impact on the people or things around them. The B drive is the drive to have social interactions with other people. And you can either have a lot of that or a little of that. And this doesn't mean, they use extraversion as just a word that means this. This doesn't mean this person's extroverted, this person's introverted. It's measuring the need for social interaction. That's different than extroversion or introversion. Patience, This is the drive for consistency or stability. And then the D drive is the drive to conform to rules and structure. So remember what we had talked about, that if we can measure a driver, then we can predict needs and behaviors. So remember this: drives, then needs, then behaviors. We're going to kind of build on this as we look through these different drivers. So we'll start with the A. The A drive. This is the drive here, and what it's we're measuring the drive, and then what we're going to get is needs. So if you fall on this side, you have a need for impact and influence of the things around you. If you're over here, then your need is to include others. So then if we remember drives, needs, and behaviors, we'll put the behaviors here on top. And so now we can start to see some descriptive behaviors that will go here. And if we go back to this here, you can see independent, collaborative, right? We're seeing this. This profile is a lot like, this is almost close to my profile. Is way over here by this second line. And it's very independent, moderately reserved, moderately driving. And then we can get the needs. So needs, independence, control. We're measuring this one. We'll go back here. So that's the A drive. The B drive is extraversion, or the need for social interaction. So the needs here are let me talk it out, or the needs are provide me time to think it through. And then some of the behaviors you might get: sociable, influential, reflective, private. We can see here this C drive, or the patience. I'm comfortable with familiarity, and I respond positively to need, to pressure and variety. And so you get some of these behaviors out here. And then the D drive here is give me framework and structure, or this is don't confine me to rules or structure. So depending on how far you are on one way or the other. The next thing that you'll see here, so then now this is giving you, it's listing these drives in needs, it's ranking them from loudest to quietest. How we get that is, this is that midline. The further out it is from the midline, the louder it becomes. So we can see here in this profile, the A drive is loudest, then the D, then the B, and the C. And so that's what it's giving it in order here. So the biggest need for this person is to let me drive. They need independence, control of their own activity, to be challenged. They need lots of freedom from rigid structure, right? This is that flexible, very flexible. Let me think it through. This is that B drive. And then the C drive is give me variety, but it's just barely, somewhat, needs somewhat of this. Next on your list is going to be factor combos. This is actually the thing that's most telling from a profile. If you think about a factor combo, this is another way to view these profiles. But if you think about a factor combo, this is looking at two specific needs or drives, and then almost like they're in a UFC cage match. If these two drives go in, which one is strongest and which one wins? So in this particular profile, if we were to put the A drive, or the drive for impact against the drive for social interaction, we can see here that the A drive is always going to win over that need for social. The need for impact is always going to win over the need for social interaction, because it's stronger. It's on the plus side here. It's stronger than this drive for social interaction. And so what that will look like is here. The A drive is stronger than the B drive. And so what this will tell us is that this profile is what we would call a task-oriented profile, because the drive for impact, the drive to get things done, will always win over the drive to interact with people. If this were the opposite, if the B was way over here and the B was stronger than the A, then this would be a people-oriented profile. Does that make sense? And so this can affect the needs, it can affect behaviors, it can affect problem solving. And when we know what a person is like and what drives beat out on other drives, we can get a pretty accurate prediction of how they're going to handle problems in the workplace. And so there's 6 total factor combos. These are all 6 that there can be. And it's measuring the A versus the B drive. Now, the B might be stronger or the A might be stronger. What this will tell you is this is an orientation. This will tell us if they're task-oriented or people-oriented. If what their action type is, are they proactive or responsive? What is their relationship with risk? Are they comfortable with risk or are they cautious with risk? Do they connect quickly with people or do they take time to connect? Are they informal or formal in their interactions with people? And what's their relationship with rules? Are they casual with rules or careful with rules? And so you can see back on this profile here that when we get the factor combos, we're actually looking, it's taking this profile and it's giving us, so just looking at this, we can tell that this is a task-oriented person. The A and C, this is a proactive profile because the need for impact is always winning over the need to keep things steady. So that's a proactive person. And the need to get to have impact is winning over the need to follow rules and structure. So this is a person that is comfortable with risk, right? So just quickly looking at the first 3 here. And on this page, it's actually giving you the factor combos that are strongest first. What that is which dots are furthest away from each other, and then which ones are closest to each other. So the furthest away is going to be here, and the closest together is going to be here. So very quickly, we can see that this person is very comfortable with risk, very task-oriented, very proactive, casual with rules, informal in their interactions with people. And then we see this this new word pop up here, situationally quick or takes time to connect. And the reason for that is because these 2 dots are so close together that this person can naturally flex one way or the other. So depending on the situation, they can either be quick to connect or takes time to connect. So that's factor combos. The other thing that's really interesting about reading a profile is you can look at it and figure out how someone problem solves. And so what you would imagine is you would take a profile or this this chart or this pattern here, and you would say if this pattern were a vehicle traveling to the right and it was to come up against an obstacle, what part of its pattern or what driver does this person have? What part of that would hit first? And it's always going to be their strongest drive is going to hit first. So if we go back to this example, we can see if this pattern were a vehicle traveling this way down the highway and it was to hit something, this A drive or this drive to be independent, this drive to lead, and this drive to make an impact is always going to hit a problem at work first. It's how they solve problems. And so we can look at a few other examples here to see what would happen. So this is a typical high A individual. This person would probably come out as either a venturer or a controller. And the A drive would hit first. This one, the B drive, would hit first. So what would be the differences between these 2 people and how they solve problems? This B drive person, their social interaction hits a problem first. So they would typically say something like, who should I call that has gone through this that can help me? Right? So they're gonna phone a friend. The high A individual like me, I naturally come across problems with making decisions quickly, usually without getting a lot of input from people, very decisive decision maker, and then I move on. This profile here, the high C, their drive or their need for stability, their drive for consistency would hit first. So they would probably be like a brake pedal, like let's slow down and let's make sure that this doesn't happen again. And then this last one here, a high D, they would say something typically like, what rules or policy or structure can I put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And so you can see how this is a really useful tool to figure out how people could problem solve. And so that's how you can read a profile. There's a very easy acronym that we can follow here called DFCP. DFCP. D is for dots. F is for factors. DFC. DFC. C is for combos. And then DFCP, P is for problem solving. So D, we're going to look at where the dots are. Just a quick, are they on the left side or the right side? Where are they in relation to each other? Factors, we're going to look at which ones are furthest out or loudest from that midpoint. These will be the things that are most obvious about a person's personality or how they like to work. DFCP, or a C is combos. Now we're going to look at these dots in relation to each other and how far out they are from each other. And then the last one, P, is problem solving. So dots, factors, combos, and then problem solving. So you can see how predictive index could be a really helpful tool, not only as an individual, but if you get your whole staff or your whole volunteer team to take this, then you can really start to build some really interesting things. I'll show you another slide here that we do in our training here. But once we know this pattern and we've measured these 4 drives, it's really like almost like a brick, where the predictive index, this behavioral assessment, is really just like cinder blocks or bricks that we use to build a lot of really cool things. So whether that's team strategies, team types, in the same way that people have profiles, you can get a group of people together and they will have a profile as well that's different than the 17 profiles, but you can get team profiles. You can build the dream teams by saying what types of profiles do we need to get XYZ done for this particular reason. You can get relationship guides between 2 people. You can see, you can create job targets to say, what's the ideal role, like a youth pastor? What's an ideal youth pastor at our church? What is their behavior? How do they solve problems? How do they interact with people? How do they lead people? How do they connect with other people? How do they solve problems? How do they handle risk? Are they cautious with rules or careful with rules? You can get this job target, and then you can say, well, if this is our youth pastor that we currently have, and this is what we say we really want, how does that match up? You can get, then with those job targets, you can do interview guides, you can do coaching guides. There's so much that you can do with predictive index, but as you look through your own behavioral profile, hopefully this video kind of gives you a quick overview of how to read your profile.